Yeah, that
They're
show was the
authentically
most
clapping.
silent because it's like you don't.
Because
I think the
it's hard
audience
for
don't know how to
someone,
react.
Like
yeah.
it's uncomfortable for someone on their own to even just
Very,
be like,
yeah.
you know, clapping or whatever. Like
That
so.
audience member was under as much pressure as you were.
Yeah,
right?
That's the thing. I was like, I actually was thinking of him as I was performing. I was like, that poor man, like
He can't leave.
Yeah, he can't leave.
He can't
do
avert his
anything.
gaze at all. He must
Exactly.
seem attentive at all times.
Exactly.
Welcome back to Everything from Nothing, Ireland's most fruitful podcast. This is our guest today is Áine. She's one of the famous Ryans from your whole family is fairly talented because like we were
From the mill.
we could have got like any of you on and
We're going to get all of them on.
Yeah. Brendan said earlier, he said, Brendan, our camera guy, said that it would be like keeping up with the Ryans, like keeping up to Kardashian, have your own series.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, Áine is an actor, writer, playwright, filmmaker, and a resident of the Jim of the Mills, Ireland's well-renowned pub.
Most famous pub, isn't it?
Yeah, must be, sure.
It won something recently, didn't it? What was it?
It was a
Best
Times
pub
thing.
in Ireland or something like that. It did.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't really a prize, but there's, the Barfly column.
Yeah. It was nominated as won Ireland's greatest pub
No way.
in the world.
In the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in
Yeah.
Ireland, but then there was this Canadian paper, the Globe and Mail.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
came, because I guess, like, once one article, like, kind of goes viral or whatever,
Claim something.
yeah,
like
then
outlandish.
loads of other kind of journalists come, and then
Jump
the
on.
Globe and Mail,
Yeah,
Globe and Mail, they came from Canada, so they were
Wow.
like, oh, if this is Ireland's best pub, is this the best pub in the world? But that's just a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
And have other pubs come back to dispute it?
No.
I don't know.
Specifically.
I don't know, but there's obviously a lot of good pubs in Ireland.
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
it's, I'd say it's hard competition.
Yeah.
Well, I was in there's a new pub and it's very gym
Okay.
relevant. It's where is it? It's in Ahamore. So again, that's in like the the
Where's-
Knock kind of parish area. Ahamore is
right.
like their GA club. So they've opened this what was a pub shop thing in the 80s, I think, and they've reopened it, and just the concrete floor, the bar, plenty of space, like this space for the session kjol, and a little snug, and they do sessions there. It's lovely.
Nice. Wow. That's
So-
cool.
And most importantly, well, this is the kind of a new proposition. So they've opened this pub. It looks lovely. It's simple. There's like it's not accidental the way it's decorated. It's decorated lovely but simple, and they've got a local lad to do runs for people that are in the pub.
Oh, brilliant.
Wow.
This local lad getting a few bob, and he's dropping all the people home. So they've like
That's very
nice
good.
one.
it's
Yeah.
like as a new proposition, they've solved all the kind of issues,
Yeah.
potential issues.
Is it, what's the
Yeah.
name of this place? It's a really remote place.
Ahamore, it's called,
Ahamore.
like Aghamore.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Brilliant.
I thought this is impressive.
That is impressive, because normally it's like the end of the night, it's like, oh, you've no left home, and then you have to volunteer yourself.
joking.
Involuntary.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
you volunteer yourself, but it's a bit involuntarily.
No
but
choice,
where
yeah.
the mill is, there's no choice, there's no
Yeah,
road,
yeah.
like, there's no pathway
So
home.
you're driving all night to get people home?
I know, but once or twice I
Yeah.
have had to like do runs around the place, or sometimes there's people, and
Or would you just
and
provide
then
pillows at the end of the night and say, put the head down
we
there
try
now?
to advise that, just
Yeah,
so
yes.
because otherwise it would just maybe word would get out, and that would start to be like the norm.
Yeah.
Occasionally there might be one or two that would have to, but no, thankfully normally everyone has a lift home. But the funny thing is when there's no coverage, so often, like, if you have someone coming to collect you, and like they get there, they can't ring to say, oh, I'm outside. So sometimes maybe like if they were fed up of waiting, they might like drive away, or sometimes if you're collecting someone, you like at whatever time, you could be in your pajamas or
wait,
something,
yeah.
and you're not going to
Well,
go
you
into the
can't go
pub.
in.
So then you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, I'm just leaving them in there, and then they're like, oh, well, we had a lift home, but we don't know what's after happening, and then there's like no phones to ring them. So
Wow.
Maybe you throw out the landline, just throw out the big
exactly,
phone
the
there, maybe
landline
work away
often
now,
comes
lads.
into work. Yeah, exactly, definitely.
Have you had any, like, because it's a well-known pub, like, have you had any, like, celebrities or someone well-known? ever?
I don't know. Like, there's obviously a few.
You wouldn't break confidence.
You can't say that.
Exactly. Yeah, there's the VIP room upstairs. No, I mean there is often like.
VIP.
Not, like, I don't mean, like, any names, but, like, as in, like, is it, like, the go-to place, like, the way, like, I don't know, like, do you know, if a celebrity comes over, they'll make sure they're seen drinking a pint in Temple Bar, like, is that kind of, like, do you have the profile for the Jim of the Mills for that kind of place, like?
No, like there's been probably like kind of people that you'd hear of, like were there, like the Chinese ambassador was there one night. That was kind of funny because he had a bit of his like entourage, I guess, with him or something. But obviously that was a bit random. I wasn't there that night, but the funny thing is that my friend was over from London, and her boyfriend is from Sweden, and he actually spoke Chinese.
Oh, right.
So like there was, even though obviously the Chinese ambassador probably speaks very good English, but you know, it was just funny, and he was laughing because he's like, of all the places, like little did I think I'd end up like speaking Chinese up here.
Person in upper church speaking Chinese, like,
yeah,
make you feel at home, like.
There's been like, so I don't know, there was someone like super wealthy, like an absolute multi maybe billionaire or millionaire there that owned this massive company there. But we only found out about that afterwards, that she'd been there. Like we didn't know at the time, so obviously like there,
you wouldn't know.
I don't think there's ever been anyone there that you're just like, you know, like that's like crazy famous, that it was like, oh my god, I can't believe they're there. But there could be maybe people that aren't facially recognized.
But I think that's like, I think that's a really good thing, because you don't want to be that pub where like celebrities are going to, where it's like for the sake of going to either, like.
And I went to,
because you still have the like, as like,
it's authentic.
You have the authenticity for sure. But like, as much as your pub is known, like it's not like it's still like low.
Yeah, it's
but like everyone knows about it,
exactly.
but like it's kind of still out the way that's enough for you to still be comfortable.
Yeah, like it's in Upper Church, so it's like so off the beaten track. I think if you want to come there, you kind of have to know about it. And
did you always live there? No.
Yeah, we always lived there, but. The story is like it's been in the family for 200 years, but my father inherited it from his uncle. So when my granduncle ran it, it was like, you know, very low key. There wasn't really music or anything. It was a mill, like a shop, all those things, and a pub. And previous to that, it had been a mill and things as well. But then when my father got it in the 80s, he started driving out and just opening it like one night a week again to prove that the license was still being used. And then because he plays music and sings, that's why like people started to go there for music as well, because he was kind of bringing that element to it.
And where did he live when he was driving out? Seskin?
Seskin, out just outside Thurles. So but yeah, it has always been in the family, but we're the first like children to grow up there in like 150 years.
That's amazing.
It was never really inhabited like that, you know, previously. And I think not that it was in Wrecking Room, but it was exactly. It wasn't really livable kind of for a good few years, but then when my parents got married, then they obviously like tried to do it up, so
put a bit on the back or whatever.
Exactly, exactly. So like, you know, raised ceilings upstairs, things like that you know you could, but it was always, I guess, a nice kind of building. So
and
that
growing
central
up,
room is just, you know, it's just mad.
It's fun.
When you
Yeah.
walk up to the door and you look in and you're like,
isn't it?
what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like looking into kind of a, you know, a little fairy box, kind of a, you know.
Yeah, you don't know exactly what. I guess if you've never been there before, you're kind of like, you don't know what you're to expect or what you're facing into.
It really captures like the real Irish, like it's not like, because like those pubs I'm referring to that you do see celebrities drinking, like is like literally does not capture what Ireland is at all, but this place does.
Yeah,
we went out there.
I think you get kind of disarmed.
Yeah, we were out there. What were we out there?
It was like it wasn't on one of the Thursdays. It was like a
duck
fun
race.
day.
Remember we went out
the duck
Tipperary
race.
Heartland.
Okay,
and the
nice.
duck race was like the most. Even the ducks, like I was expecting the generic yellow ducks. Even the ducks were just, you know, they were actually real deal. Like they looked like real ducks, like, but they were plastic. I've never gone to
They're
duck
a higher
race.
caliber of
But even added to it, like,
and Jim was fishing them out as they came out and getting them.
It's just so like I don't know. It's so wholesome.
Everybody looks relaxed there as well, don't they? Like it's like their own sitting room or whatever. And you must
that was my first time out there, and I felt like, you know, like,
I
was like, felt like you just feel really relaxed straight away. Like,
did that like help you like writing plays and stuff? Watching all those different people and people interact. You see a lot of people interacting, like
exactly, definitely.
You get to know people, don't you, and how they speak and.
Exactly. Well, always you like everyone that comes, especially if you sit in the kitchen room. It's like, okay, you'll give a song now, and then it's like, even if there's like random strangers, it's like, right lads, your turn, like, do you have a song? And they're like, no, we can't sing, or else they're like, oh yeah, okay, I'll perform or something. So therefore, I think when you have that, you always think, oh, I should like, you're expected to like perform or like contribute something. Exactly. And it's like, even if there's like the worst singers in the world or like bad musicians or anything, it doesn't really matter, because at least like they're making an effort.
Yeah.
So therefore I think then I think you grow up with that kind of mentality that you kind of have something to offer.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know how good you are or not, but at least you're not kind of afraid
To try.
to do it.
Or
Exactly.
make mistakes and improve on it or whatever, you know.
Exactly,
what I
yeah,
mean? It's
exactly. So it is a good environment for that.
cool. Was that your first play, that Kitty in the Lane? No.
Yeah,
Was
that was
it?
my first play,
Oh,
yeah.
I was
well,
just amazed
yeah,
by
I
that.
wrote a few little sketches like
Yeah.
previously when I was in secondary school, and
Yeah.
that was kind of my first, but Kitty in the Lane was my first kind of proper venture into actually, I had in fairness tried to write a few plays before that, like
Yeah.
full length plays, but like, you know, they'd always got to like the 70% mark, and then
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
couldn't take them, and like there was just a dead end or something. But at least with Kitty in the Lane, I stuck to it and I finished it, thankfully. Like, and I had enough, you know, ideas to get me from the start of the story to the end, and like mix in the bits in between.
And what was it about that you were able to hook into that you didn't on the others? You know?
Because I think it was a mix, because the way I wrote Kitty in the Lane was that like I was studying drama at the time, and I was reading for my dissertation. I had to research loads of female characters in Irish theatre, and I was living in London, and there's this library there called Senate House in Russell Square that I used to go to, and I had like a really good routine that I'd go there the days I didn't have university, which was twice a week. I'd go there the other 3 days, and I like disciplined myself to either read all these books and be writing my dissertation, and then in the evening I would always start writing a bit of the play. And that took about like 6 months, but because I was just like swamped with so much theory and so much
Information,
discipline and information, it like flowed to me easily. Whereas then when you've so much distractions and other kind of lifestyle things going on, I think to really get the flow, you have to be absorbed in something.
Stay going.
Yeah, stay going. And thankfully I did that for Kitty in the Lane.
And did you hit
so
any walls in the middle of that or anything? No.
to be honest, I probably did. I'd hit a lot of walls prior to that play where I thought I was onto something good, and then it didn't come. But I can't really remember, but I remember like being very disciplined with it, saying like, you're going to finish this, like you'll finish this, and then eventually you do finish it. But even when I finished it in that June, and then it was on the January, like there was a lot of changes even after I had the script, and like that's the key thing, is the editing a lot of the time. But if you can get just through your first draft, I guess that is the most important thing, because at least you've something to work with then.
And did you find, like, because if you're someone that put in that much effort and, you know, you're that disciplined to read that much and to dedicate certain times a day to start writing, it seems like you probably wanted to perfect it. Did you find it hard to stop? Like, how did you know when, like, to leave it alone? Or did you just know, like, okay, this is done? Yeah,
I knew at that stage, okay, that's the first draft. But as you start rehearsing it and getting it ready for the stage, it also so much was edited. Even after I did the show in Thurles and then taking it to Edinburgh Fringe, it was still edited a lot. Okay, and after Edinburgh Fringe, it was edited even more, because you start to get to know the show more. And obviously sometimes you might take out some of the wrong bits, but like sometimes you have to do it for time. And even when I did it in San Francisco, the guy
where have you performed it? Actually, before, can you give, just for our like audience, listeners or viewers, can you explain like quickly what the play is about?
So
I wanted to know the context. When's it set?
So it's set in the modern era, but it's a little bit timeless, if I can say that, because she kind of lives a very old-fashioned lifestyle for today.
And you're the only person playing all the characters.
Yeah, it's a one-person show. So it all takes place in this kind of old-fashioned kitchen where Kitty, the protagonist that I play, lives with her father. It's way down. I played the father as well. But it's kind of... it's hard to explain. It's not like I come on acting out the father. It's all from Kitty's perspective. She's telling the story, and then she's saying, and then daddy, and then you go into like the way he says it. But it's her interpretation of her father.
So you're always that character portraying the...
I don't change costumes or anything. It's always Kitty, but she might like change her accent or like change the way she moves to portray her father.
You'd believe you've seen the father. I've seen the play 3 times.
Oh God, fair play to you.
I love it. But you'd actually, it reminds me of, well, not in style or anything, but you know, Phone Booth, the way it grabs your attention.
Phone Booth. With the movie Phone Booth.
Phone Booth. Yeah, it grabs your attention right from the beginning, right to the end, and it's like it takes your mind everywhere, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Without her
That's
moving anywhere.
Because Phone Booth is one of those films that I think if you can capture an audience like doing something, whether it's like being in a phone booth or just having one character. If you can provide entertainment through that, then what you can do like in the future. Or what
but it's
you
a
will
real
do.
skill to take your mind here, there, and everywhere
Yeah,
without it.
Yeah.
I've seen the bed, I've seen everything, I've seen.
Yeah,
even though you haven't moved anywhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but I find that does be gripping when it's an internal thing. When it's
Yeah.
like,
Of course,
Yeah,
yeah.
that does be kind of,
It isn't, it is gripping, like monologue.
But the language as well. I thought the language was brilliant in it. Like as in the way. I don't know, some line in it about what possessed our forefathers to build a house. Was it 2 miles in a lane or something like that?
Yeah.
Even the way it just you don't just say, "Oh, it's down the bloody road." It's kind of like it's the language, and that's the way the people speak. Or you'd hear some people speaking around the pub and stuff like that. It's so natural. But I wonder what English people would have made of that, because it's so descriptive, and it wouldn't be the way they'd speak, but it would be. It gives you everything.
Yeah, like, well, in Edinburgh, that was the good thing, because obviously when I did it here, like, obviously it's like a majority of the audience is from around, or people I kind of know, so you don't really know if the feedback then is a little bit like tinted. But then at least when I did it in Edinburgh, it was the first time where like I didn't know that many people in Edinburgh, so I wasn't like, oh, will they be in the audience? You're completely being like, it's just, you're just like waiting for someone off the street to come in and see it, and they have no like bias or idea to, like, they've no ideas formed of what this is about.
That's
and
better,
like
isn't it?
it is better, because then when people are like for example, there was this guy who came to see the play, and he messaged me after, and he was like from like Pakistan, completely
so he had no
living in
cultural
England. He had
reference
no
at all.
cultural reference, and he was like, oh my god, I really enjoyed the play. And then there would be other people that would have no context to like Ireland or maybe what the play was about, and they still understood it, because I think it's about, like, as with any story, there's always a universal theme, and even though it mightn't be, you mightn't relate to it on a completely personal level, like with the culture and everything, there's always something in it. For example, with Kitty in the Lane, it's kind of about being trapped but not able to maybe leave your family or where you're from, and kind of having loyalties, and like a loyalty to maybe like where her mother is from, where like her ancestors come from, and yet wanting to leave because she doesn't get on with her father. And like, even if you're Indian, Australian, Chinese, whatever, you can relate to that on some level about something. So
allegiance to your place.
Yeah.
So what were the places you were going? San Francisco.
I did it in San Francisco for 3 weeks, so that was really good. And then I also did it in Philadelphia just for one night.
Wow.
And then
Really
I did
impressive.
it in Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival in Belfast, Drogheda, Dundalk, Kilmallock in Limerick, Granary Theatre in Cork. Where else?
What is the smallest amount of people that you've ever done it?
In Edinburgh Fringe, the venue there was like maximum 30 people, I think, or 35.
And that's how many was in it?
That's every day. Yeah, that was how many.
Okay.
So there was, but
So
that's.
you've never had that kind of like, fuck, there's only 2 people there.
Yeah,
I
that must
did.
be
One
bizarre.
day I performed for one person.
Oh,
It was the worst thing ever.
Oh, brilliant.
I can
It
imagine
was
that could
'cause
only
you-
be the worst or
Yeah.
the best.
Do you
Like,
try
I
and not
can-
look at that
It
one
was.
person then?
It
like?
was a bit awkward, to be honest, because
You know, like, because who
yeah.
look at an empty chair?
Exactly. And the thing was as well is that like the show had actually started to sell really well, and the day before I think it had like sold out, and then it was like one of the last Sundays of the Fringe, and the show was on kind of early in the early-ish in the morning, around 11 or something, so like it was a very kind of random time, but it was the only slot I kind of got, so I had to take it. And then I was expecting like a fairly good crowd, because we'd gotten all like the good reviews and stuff at that stage. And then Emily, who like was helping me do the show and doing the lights and everything, she came in, and we only had a tiny little backstage, and she was like, oh my god, there's only one person here. And I was like, oh no, because the effort that you even put into performing it,
The amount of energy. that
the
you were
amount
just
of
about
energy
to
it takes is like, oh, do I have to really do this for one person? But it does look bad if you cancel. And at the same time, like, that man had gotten up, and he was actually a producer as well, so it was worth doing it.
Wow.
So even though
anyone that's going to be there in the morning, they kind of mean business. Don't
they mean business,
That's
exactly. That's the good thing. Like, you know, people aren't going to get out of bed unless they really want to come to it.
Do you think, I wonder, just thinking, like, if you had one person in the crowd, because you know the way, like, if I go to a show now and I zone out for a second, everyone starts clapping, I'm just going to start clapping anyway. But you think you get like a different reaction when there's only one person, because they're definitely not clapping because everyone else is clapping.
Yeah,
So
they
no one
are
else
only
clapping.
that
That
they're
show was the
authentically
most
clapping.
silent, because it's like you don't. I think the audience don't know how to react.
Like
yeah,
it's uncomfortable for someone on their own to even just
very,
be like, you know, clapping or whatever. Like
that audience member was under as much pressure as you were.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I was like, I actually was thinking of him as I was performing. Like, that poor man, like
he can't leave.
Yeah, he can't leave.
He can't avert his gaze at all. He must seem attentive at all times.
Exactly.
He can't read the program. He can't do nothing.
Yeah. So.
And how are you with pre-crowds or crowds in general? Like, was it like, were you ever nervous at the start, or you just?
I was obviously so nervous before the very first show, because obviously it was like kind of such a big deal for me, and I didn't really know what the reaction to the play would be. Like, I was fairly confident, but you're just terrified you'll blank in the middle of it and you won't remember your lines, and like there's no one to turn to. Like, you can get the prompts, but if you don't feel it. Actually, I did the play this year in Kilkenny, and that was the first time that on stage, just for like a brief moment, blank. I literally was blank, and no one in the audience knew it, but in my head I was just like, I have no idea what the next line is. Like, I have no idea what the next line is. And you're in your head in the space of a few seconds before it becomes obvious.
Improvise, or did you get it?
No, I got it.
Okay.
It came to me. Thankfully, I've never had a moment where like the whole, like I've been, you know, being like, although funnily enough, also in Kilkenny, the first time I did the show there, it was on for 2 nights last summer. And the first night I did the show, the venue was over this pub. It was part of a fringe festival there. And the pub, there was music, and we didn't think the music would be that loud. Like, they'd said that it wouldn't be that loud, and suddenly the music started, and it was so loud that I had to stop the show in the middle of it and go downstairs and say, like, I can't continue performing until this music goes, because it is so distracting. Any little thing can kind of throw you, and like, so that can be very stressful. But thankfully I've never like completely blanked where I've had to like consult the script or something like that. So thank God for that.
Yeah, I don't think performers, like, for everyone, musicians, artists get enough credit for playing in front of the crowd. I even had that moment here trying to do a podcast with just like friends, like last week, like we were trying to do it and just had that moment. And you know, there's like no one even here, like, but it's just mad though. I don't think people, I think like there's talent, like someone that can sing at home, that's amazing talent, but like there's a whole other talent if you can keep that voice, like, because it's like, you know, your first time trying to sing in front of someone, maybe it wasn't for you, but you do just have like your voice changes in the sound because you're the nervous, like, comes through it, like, so to be able to perform or do that in front of a crowd is a talent within itself, like, it's
exactly. I think it's easier probably to perform to a bigger audience because there's more people and you kind of get a warmer response, or like people aren't as afraid to like kind of. But then again, when I'm in an audience myself, like, even if I think something is funny, it's actually rare that I laugh. Like, some people are very unresponsive and then they'll tell you at the end, I love that, but during the performance they can be very silent, and I would be one of those audience members like myself, well,
because I don't want to miss any of it.
Or you just don't have the thing. So I don't know, it's the main thing is like I think when you're performing, you nearly have to concentrate just on the show and like not think about the audience for that moment.
You actually go there in your mind as well, the whole thing.
Exactly.
You live
just perform for yourself, and it's like a runner, you know, when they're like trying to break different speeds, and it like they might have come forward, but like you see them afterwards and they're beaming because they're like, oh yes, like I broke my own record, but you're like so therefore I think it helps when you're actually performing on stage that you're like, did I give like one of my best performances? And also like that, I did 2 nights in Kilkenny this summer, as I mentioned earlier, and even though there was less of a crowd on the Saturday, I was so happy with my performance on the Saturday because I myself felt it went really well. So therefore like you're kind of happier in yourself, even if it's a bigger audience and like you've sold more tickets and everything, that's good, but I think you get a better buzz when you know when you're finished, oh, I did really good performing there, I can walk away happy with myself.
Because you know the show the best, so if you can impress yourself like the most, then that's like the best reward you can get, because you know the show the best.
So you must have got like a rush out of the success of that, like how successful it was, like every you know, it sold out like every time.
I was really happy with it because like obviously it was my first one, so you're kind of like, oh, brilliant, but then I think you're kind of like, oh, oh my god, like not that I was like, yeah, you're kind of thinking, oh, like
Temple
anything
Moore.
I write will probably be good. Yeah, but then sometimes it's not.
So, like, Temple Moore is your second one, was it? No.
That was my second one, yeah.
Was
That was really, that went so bad for me.
Okay.
And I think that was maybe
I
because...
haven't heard of that one.
That's fine.
No, go give the outline of it
So
there.
basically, it was set in Templemore Garda College, and
the play is called. This is another play called
Temple
Temple
Moore.
This is
Moore.
another
I think
play.
I'm confused. Okay.
But the thing was
In the
is
modern
that,
era, modern.
yeah, it was modern era, yeah.
Because what I kind of associate like with the mill and like with Aaron doing bits or you doing bits that I've seen out in Hammersley's one evening,
Yeah.
is that that kind of folk kind of timeless,
Yes.
that, you know, where the speech it could be 18th century or
Doesn't matter.
Actually, that's so interesting.
that's the kind
that's
of
true, yeah.
that's what I associate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
And
I
so-
prefer that. Like,
I love
I
that.
prefer to write kind of like that. But I guess then there's so much like that's the thing is that your voice can get muddled because you see so many. If I go to see a lot of other plays or read a lot of other contemporary drama, it's all generally quite contemporary language. So then I think that influences my work. That then I kind of start to write a bit more contemporary, but I don't know if that's really my true voice. But sometimes you're so muddled, you start to write that way anyway. So I have to kind of watch myself for that because I think I have a better talent in like phrasing words
in
a more old-fashioned
that
folky
folklore,
way.
okay,
Exactly.
right, okay.
From listening to it out at the mill and
Yeah,
stuff like
or like my dad, like he's always
brilliant.
telling funny stories, or like for example, he has all these very like kind of yarns and like funny stories he'd be able to tell about people from around Thurles, like back in the day. And the funny thing is that when he could say these really funny yarns and like everyone would be absolutely falling around, they'd be
That's
so
class.
funny. But when I tell them, because I mightn't even say them in the same manner, they're just not funny, or people
they could
are
be
like,
word to word, but it's just the way he says
Yeah.
it.
Phrase.
Yeah,
So-
but Jim can sell it 'cause
I-
I suppose he
yeah.
like he even carries himself in that sort of slightly timeless. To somebody just pull
Yeah,
him from
yeah,
1895 or is he
exactly.
coming from 1955 or
Exactly. Like I'll give you this example of one that he had this like there was these neighbours that lived down Seskin Lane, and one of the girls, obviously this could be back in maybe like the early like 20th century, maybe 1940s or 30s, I don't know, it might even have been earlier, and there was this girl Nora, and she went to England, and when she came back, her father, like I don't know, they probably wouldn't have had a lot of money, or they weren't like posh family anyway. And one of the stories he tells is like that when the father came home, he was like, or when Nora came home, he was like, well, Nora, how did you travel? And she was like, oh, Daddy, I travelled first class. Well, you were right, Nora, not to travel with the roughs. And when Dad says that, it's always, everyone is like falling around. But when I tell that, everyone is just like, that's not funny, like, that's not funny. And my dad always like gets me to try and remember some of these, but it is about the way you present them and the way you can tell them. So even if it is in that folky style, like you need to address it in the right way that will make it humorous, or else it will just fall flat. You know, so
does he is he as much like, could he tell us many like kind of stories like as in, do you know, a lot of older ways people would tell, do you know, the whole Irish thing was like, there was an old saying was like put pen to paper, or not pen to paper, mouth to mouth, was like try not to use pens and stuff. Like does he have that like natural flow of an old Irish storyteller as well as the jokes? Like,
well, the thing is he just tells, like, he doesn't obviously rehearse what he's going to say or anything. He just knows some of these like funny stories, or
it's just natural.
It's just natural, and like they might be things that other people like said around the town. Like he wouldn't have come up with them. He's just like retelling the story. But yeah, like I think it works better if it is handed down more of an oral tradition. But obviously, then for some of us, we have to write them down because we're not going to remember them, or we can't really tell them.
But it's definitely now like that storytelling, that is like a bizarre talent when you can someone can tell a story from just on the spot like that naturally. Like it was the main source of entertainment, was storytelling at one stage, like, and I think very few people are keeping that going. Like
placing the value in that, you know.
Exactly.
And come here, what was Temple Moore about then anyway?
So that was about, well, which version did you see?
I saw the one in the source, wasn't it?
So that was a real disaster of a project.
You had to rewrite it quick, didn't you? Because, because somebody
did it for Dublin Fringe.
Wasn't
well, it's kind of a funny story in itself, but we thankfully, like, I got the play into Dublin Fringe. but I hadn't written the play at that stage. I had just written.
But I love the title.
The
Best title ever.
So I wanted to. I don't know. I just started like I wrote the kind of random plot, and then it was accepted by Dublin Fringe.
Brilliant.
And that was great because that's a good showcase in Ireland to like get your theatre out there. And then I asked my friends Irene and Mark, would they act in it, and they were up for it. So that was brilliant. We had a good team. There was a lot of people involved in it, which Kitty in the Lane was very few people, and I think that's why it worked well, is when you have a bit more control. Whereas for me, and I work kind of better when I'm like kind of in charge, because I don't know, that's just the way I am. But when there was so many voices for Templemore, the main thing that went wrong with it is we didn't have enough rehearsal time, and then it was kind of had to go on before we were really ready. So then, although we got like very good audiences in Dublin and everything, the play like didn't really have a proper storyline. Like it was kind of too mixed up. So then I wanted to fix it in time for the source, but unfortunately the other actors and some of the people involved had other commitments, because they thought we would just be doing it Dublin Fringe and then it would be perfect, ready to go for Thurles. But I felt that I didn't want the kind of bad version of the play to go forward to Thurles. But they had no time to rehearse in between. So I had to unfortunately make the decision that I could rewrite it and make it a bit better as a one-person show. They were brilliant actors, and it was nothing on them. Like, they were absolutely brilliant. It just happened that they had committed to other projects. So unfortunately then I had to like kind of like cut their parts out, which I didn't want to, but that was what happened. And like,
what was the story of the play?
So so it deals with paedophilia, which is a very hard topic, and not really paedophilia, but it was about this girl who, when she's younger, it's kind of funny when I say it. It's not really that funny, but basically she goes for tin whistle lessons with this man, and they start a relationship, and she's only like 12 and 13. She's only 12 or 13. So obviously when her parents find out about this, like, the man goes to prison, and she is like, she gets on with her life, and then she starts training as a guard in the Garda College. And the other two characters in the play were her friends. And one day they go to this fair, like they're off college, and they go to like this local fair, and he's there, and he's now out of prison.
And she's a guard now.
She's training to be a guard, but when she sees him, she's still in love with him, so she goes off with him for the day. And that's basically what it was about. So it was about, I just think it was too, like, just hadn't maybe it put together fully enough. Like, it needed to be developed more.
It sounds fierce promising.
No, it was good.
It's very unique anyway.
I love the different.
To be honest, maybe
it
like
kind of
I'm
felt
too
Pat
hard.
McCabe kind of
Maybe
bizarre,
maybe I'm too hard on it, because I think
yeah.
with the whole production thing and like,
No, it was good.
because of the mess of the whole thing,
You're
I think
coloured it for you.
it's like
can't
it
see
coloured
it.
it for me, that I was like, once I had finished The Night in the Source, like I was like, that's it, I'm done. Like, I didn't want to ever see that play again. So
how did you mean you cut people out? Did that mean, was it just less people in it? Like,
so there had been 3 characters, and I had to rewrite it as a one-person show for Thurles, and
so
they
you
were
did do it as one,
so literally that was the hardest 2 weeks of my life, and I had no appetite. You know when that saying, a knot in your stomach, I had such a knot in my stomach for those 2 weeks, because it just had kind of failed as a project, and then I had the pressure of still having to perform it in Thurles. It was already sold out, and I didn't want to have to cancel it, so I had to stay going with it.
Friends and family one as well when it's in Thurles.
That's the thing. Exactly. So it was all fine in the end. Like, everyone understood, and in fairness, like, everyone was fine about it. But after that, I just, like, that was maybe the hardest project I've ever had to do, where I'm like, oh my god, like, artistic life is actually pretty difficult in this moment in time. Like,
this isn't too glamorous.
I was like,
I'm on a collision course for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but when you pull that off, you'll pull off anything. Like,
that's the thing. I was like, after this, I was like, I had so much, not strength,
relief.
But I was like, if I ever go through anything that hard again, it won't be that stressful. And then you actually really appreciate when you're so excited to perform your play as well. Because I've done other plays, like performed in other plays as well that weren't my own, that I wasn't really so excited to be in. And I always believe, like, if someone is coming in to like pay money and like you're giving them a product, like, you have to really be passionate yourself. Because if I go to see something myself and like I've paid money to see it and it's not good, I'm just like, what a waste. Like, same with a restaurant, anything. if you're not satisfied with what you get, or if you don't believe it's like the best possible product you can give,
it's not going to feel worthwhile, like, until...
Yeah, you don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Or if it lacked energy, I suppose, you know.
Exactly.
Exactly. So,
reminds me, do you know, there's a band, 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, when he was younger, he was trying to form a band. And 9 Inch Nails is like a really big band, like, but he's the only one in it. There are members now that when he tours and stuff, but he's the only member in it. But when he was younger, he was trying to get a band going, and he'd have like auditions, people coming in and everything, and nobody could play like the certain piano the way, or no, nobody could play the guitar, bass, or drums the way he wanted to. So like he spent like the next 7 or 8 years just learning all of them, and then he like figured out he could just make like, so he like never told anyone that 9 Inch Nails originally was just him. Like it was like he portrayed it as this big band, and then when he was asked to tour, he was like, oh no, shit, now I need members.
Yeah,
but
that's funny.
But like I think what's really like, it's really cool because if you can learn to do, you know, that way, like the one person show, then you're going to know better to what you can do when people are involved. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, is it a richer thing? Because I mean, it's this undistilled. This is Áine Ryan's whole conception and whole, like, this is her performance. It's not like here's a cast of characters and a kind of a mediocre yoke is behind this cast of characters doing individual parts.
Well, like, I think no matter what, like, when you're the person, it's like being an entrepreneur, like, you're the only person that will always have as much passion for your project as you have. And like, you have to remember that when someone is coming and like helping you, or like you employ somebody or something, like, their heart will probably be in it, but it's very hard to get someone that will have like the same kind of like complete energy as you have, unless like they have some serious motivation. Like, for example, with this play that I'm doing, Paddy Goes to Petra, I'm not in it, I have another actor in it, but like he's very motivated for it because it's a good acting part for him.
And is it just him on his own?
Yeah, it's just him on his own.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
So but that's hard as well because I'm not on stage, so it's hard for me when he performs. It's like he could skip some of the lines that I've worked so hard for, but you know,
he's never going to satisfy you. He's like,
at the end, it's just like you have to have that trust, or else I will always have to write characters just for myself if I wanted it to be that way.
I think that's a key thing to learn to success. It's the same with like finding someone that wants to be motivated by your project, but but when you find that person, then like another hard part is being able to give that trust, like, and just let go of it, because success, definitely a big part of success falls in being able to give that trust to let it grow on its own as well. Like, yeah,
and it is the one good thing about working with other people is obviously at the end of the day you kind of have someone to like celebrate the success with, and it's not as like it's lonely. Not as lonely, or like if it goes bad you can have a laugh about it, whereas if you do bad on your own, like you're kind of crying into your own pillow at night, like, and there's no one else to help you. But at least with a few, like, you have that joy of like being like, oh, like, well done guys, like.
What about the one you did with your sister? Is it Up
the Hill Jackie?
Yeah, that was class.
Oh, thanks you. That was with Erin, my youngest sister.
It was brilliant.
Thanks.
It was in the Source again, sold out again.
Yeah, we did 2 nights in the Source, and then we did an Edinburgh Fringe.
That was a great success, wasn't it?
Yeah, that went also really well. Unfortunately, Erin then. We had a car accident. I was also in it, but Erin got badly injured for her back. So when we did it in Edinburgh, it was very hard for her to perform, even though she like performed brilliantly. But like after the first show in Edinburgh, we ended up in the hospital.
Oh no.
But yeah, that went really well. But we had to cancel some shows after the accident because of her back, so I never really grew that as much as I wanted to, because like she just wasn't able to do it, and I had written the part kind of specifically for her. But we might revive it.
I think that could do with another Erin.
It was funny and everything, and Erin was excellent. So so maybe down the line,
of animation.
Would it be hard for you to put that back together? That you'd have to do a good bit of.
We'd have to do a good bit of rehearsal, but like the good thing is the story is already there, so that's the main thing. And like, you know, I did enjoy writing that and performing that, and like again, I didn't really know how it would go. But like, thankfully, it seemed to go pretty good.
What was it about? It was basically about her getting pregnant, wasn't it? Or what was it?
Yeah, it was about these two sisters, Jackie and Rita, and I played Rita, and Erin was Jackie, my youngest sister, and they travel. Their parents have died, and they're living with their aunt and the aunt's fiance, and Jackie gets pregnant with the aunt's fiance. So Rita is like, this is an absolute disaster, and is forcing her kind of to get an abortion over in London. So it all takes place that night, like basically the 24 hours while she's getting this abortion, like when it starts off in the hotel room in London, like they've arrived over. Also, this was written in 2016, 2017, before the whole abortion referendum and everything. So I'd have to look at that now, but I guess it could be in Dublin or somewhere. And it was all set on this weekend where it's kind of about control, and like I guess in that play, like you never really know who's kind of the good sister, bad sister. It was like kind of a manipulation of who's kind of telling the truth, or who's...
So like the audience then is kind of, it's up to them. Is it up to them in the end to figure out like who?
Well, not really, because I think all the way through you're sympathising with Jackie. She's the younger character. My character was a lot more controlling, older sister type. But in the end, there's kind of a big reveal, and you
won't say anything.
Yeah, won't say anything more. But maybe you're more sympathetic for Rita then. So that was fun. So yeah.
How come your family is so talented?
Oh God, I don't know now. But actually, thankfully, like even my mom and dad, they're able to act. Like they're
really.
Thankfully, we are all able to act. All of the girls are well able to act. Like.
So you can use them all basically.
I can, but they don't really have much. They don't really have. Aaron has interest in like being in shows and stuff. Greta does as well, but she's never really done anything. Okay. And it was funny because I had gotten some funding from Tipperary Arts Council or County Council to make a short film, and I had said to Greta, this was a few years ago. I was living in London at the time, and I had said to Greta, this role is for you. You better learn these lines, and we're going to be ready to shoot this film. Like, please, like, don't let me down on this, because it all had to be done. We had such a small budget. It all had to be done in like 1 day or 2 days. And the filmmaker that I had, he was coming down from Kildare, and like it was one of those really funny stories where, well, not funny, that I had flown home from London, but in the meantime, he actually got a heart attack. So we had to cancel the whole project. He was fine after it, but it was too late notice to... get someone else to film and all this kind of thing. So that was the one time Greta was about to have her role.
Oh, no.
But I was teasing her because I said, you don't even have your lines learned for this. But I think every person is equally talented, just in different facets. Like, from every capacity, like everyone has some kind of talent to give. So
I think so as well. And I think it's just about how, I suppose, I think the hard part is knowing what I think when you find what you're good at, like that's easy. Like doing what you're good at is the easy part. Like finding it is the hard part.
Exactly.
It might have been like kind of more comfortable for you to find it if like you have five years, is it?
Yeah.
Who are all kind of like with the music in your blood, pretty much, like, and you're all suppose growing up together probably. Would you count any of it to being like I suppose like you're just welcoming this and to just watching like everyone else in the house growing up, like people over at the pub?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, like in terms of music, like mom and dad already played music, but then they like made us do music lessons. And I think where other parents would have said, oh, like there was moments when I was like, oh, please let me quit piano, like I don't want to do guitar anymore, all the various things we done. Obviously you always hit those moments when you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But and mom was like, stay doing it. Like she forced us. And I think like music isn't for everyone, same way as like sports isn't for everyone, same way as everything is different for everyone. But I think if you have a parent who really believes in that like creative art or that kind of thing, it does help, because then you kind of have that skill, and then if you're into it specifically yourself, so it's kind of a mix of like having your other sisters doing it as well, like having a bit of fun out of it. Because one thing from like the whole play thing is really kind of new for me, because even though my dad is well able to tell stories and everything, it's not like anyone in my family really has like tried to pursue this kind of career before. So obviously that would have been a big help for me if I already knew contacts, I had all those things. But like in terms of music, we always used to go to sessions when we were children. Like you're in that community and you kind of make friends in it, and therefore you're always kind of around it. So I think when there's joy out of it, like even my parents, if my father goes to like, he could say, oh, I'm off to Offaly to a session tonight, like you understand that world, and therefore you know, oh, this is going to be fun even when I'm an adult, like this is going to continue. Same way as sport or anything.
There's
if
something,
you're
you know,
into
as
it.
you'd say, wholesome about these sessions, because you go and there's this commitment to sharing and
exactly.
you know, give us something and you do
exactly,
it, however polished or unpolished.
Yeah, it doesn't really
and there's
matter.
a kind of an acceptance, like, well, thanks for telling me that one, or
exactly,
for singing that one.
Exactly.
That should be at least like the entry fee, like to give something a bit of a song or so. I like the whole idea as well. Is that I feel like that's the kind of place where I would be comfortable. Like Jimmy DeMills would be comfortable knowing that I can't sing, but giving it a shot. Like because I never have. Like, but I feel like, you know, when it would be the place. Because when someone comes to you on the spot and it's like sing, you're like Jesus, you know, like I feel like you'd be that bit more comfortable to do it there.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Do you put sawdust on the floor?
We don't. No.
I went up to Sean's bar, and I don't know if this was like a real thing or is it, do you know Sean's bar?
I do. Yeah.
It's like apparently the oldest pub in Europe or something. But yeah, they put sawdust on the floor, and I was questioning about it. The people behind the bar didn't know, and I just thought that was weird that they didn't. But then someone that heard me talking about it said that was an old thing in case to stop it being slippy. Am I wrong?
Okay.
Spillages. Yeah, spillages.
Yeah, we do have the flag floors as well. So,
oh right, okay.
But it's usually too crowded for dancing. Occasionally there might be a few people that might dance.
I was going to say, like, how diverse does the performances get? Like, would you have lads doing press-ups or something like, you know, as the
night develops, anything can happen.
Balancing an egg on his nose, or you know, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. There's often obviously people from other countries, so like it wouldn't be rare if they brought their own instruments or if they sang like a song in like Spanish or from wherever. And obviously there's some people that like they don't know Irish, like no, it is predominantly obviously like Irish and traditional music and like a lot of ballads and stuff, but like people would often sing some other type of folk song or even a rock song, like anything kind of goes. And like there would be like serious poetry, someone might tell a funny story, someone might dance, like occasionally if there's room as well they would dance, and then there would just be any sort of a thing, like
because I think there is that general respect, isn't there, like of or you know, you're going to do something and we accept that.
Exactly. Like it's funny, there could be like the worst person singing in the world, and even sometimes I'm like, how is nobody like laughing here? You know, just that moment when you're like, oh my god,
that's pressure, isn't it?
But the thing is like nobody does. That's the weird thing, is like sometimes you'd look around and you'd be like, why is no one else laughing, or like why isn't someone reacting weirdly? But the thing is, like, people are probably just respectful towards other people, and it doesn't really matter anyway at the end of the day. Like, you know,
build confidence either way, even if people were, well, maybe, I don't know, for some people it could build confidence, like, because they laugh and it get better, I don't know, but I do think, what I was going to say,
but
when I was
it would give a person confidence or sort of a good feeling, just to kind of you know, I'm doing my bit, I'm making noise now at the moment.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm the kind of getting a bit of attention, you know. So it feels
and
good.
Usually, like, always, like, when you sing or when you play or something, you're worried about your own little bit for a moment, but all the other people there are probably like worried about their own song. Like no one is thinking like, oh, that guy isn't good, because everyone, it's like anything, everyone is too busy worrying about themselves to like really put too much attention as to like, oh, if that person is really good or not. So even for
you, you know, there is this, there's an underlying like, fuck, I'm on next, or
I mean, there would
will
be
I,
like,
won't I?
I don't know, sometimes, I mean, at the end of the day, like, art is art, and like some people aren't going to like your stuff, and you might not even like your stuff. Occasionally you might be like, there's always a moment when you might have like everything arranged, the play is ready to go or whatever, and then you're like, is this even any good, you know? But you have to just trust your own abilities. Oh, like, I've done the work, like, just let it out now, and if someone likes it, they like it, and then it does feel good afterwards if someone is like, oh, I really liked that, or, you know, that was good, because sometimes you forget if it is any good or not. Yeah.
And when you're looking at their relatively blank faces or whatever, you know.
Exactly.
I feel like that too. I'm kind of more of an observer. I'd hear a lot more laughter around me before I'd kind of laugh, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. I was trying to think there. Did you know? Did you see that? Do you know Kamauchi Black and Tans by the Wolf Tones? Yeah. That's number one on iTunes in Britain and in Ireland right now. In the last day, it's trending all over Twitter, and then BBC Radio have been playing it for the last few days over in Britain. Yeah, it's so funny. Wow. It's very off topic, but I think we're going to finish up now anyway, 'cause trying to It's just 50 minutes. It actually flew. I didn't even
geez,
realize.
Is it?
That flew, yeah, look.
Wow.
50 minutes on each. Is that right?
Is it? No.
Well, they're all saying 50 minutes.
Are they? I thought like
unless they're all wrong and the camera is right.
What are they? Is it?
A cameraman said thumbs up twice.
Is it? Okay. All right.
Yeah, thanks a million for coming on. Is there any way, like, you have a website?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, what's
Studio www.studioperform.org.
Oh yeah, and play's coming up, isn't there?
Yeah. So the play is on the 29th of February. Paddy Goes to Petra.
In where?
In the Source.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Are tickets on sale yet?
Yeah, tickets are on sale. Yeah.
Because I know, but I was under pressure. A couple of those Kitty in the Lanes. I had a job to get the tickets, so it does sell out pretty quick.
It does.
No,
you
it's
buy
not
them,
sold out.
you buy them on the website, do you?
No, you'd want to buy them now because I remember the last time, a couple of weeks before it sold out. Like.
Yeah, thanks you. Hopefully it will sell out again. I hope so.
Well, it was. There was a queue. I think there was about 30 people in the queue.
In the waiting list, exactly.
You can book them online. You can book them on the website.
Or you can ring up, because I think if you book them on the website, there's a booking fee. But if you ring up, you can probably just.
Or even you can call in. I find it really authentic to call in. So, like, it's something so fun about going in, buying a ticket. Like,
it's nice, exactly.
And if it sells, do you just, is that sort of like semi-pencils? Will it just take a night? Is that?
Usually like right now I do. Yeah, once if this play sells out, I will maybe try and do another organize. Like we haven't really spoke about the future of this play after Thurles. We're just seeing how it goes first, and if it goes well, we'll look at it after that. But if there's enough of a demand, we'll do it again in the Source and maybe try to do a tour. But for now, we're just going for the first show and seeing how that goes.
That's February 20th.
29th.
29th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick thing before we go. Paddy Goes to Petra. It's about what's it about?
It's about a middle-aged man, and the way it's about this couple whose son has died, and they go book loads of different weekends away and travel a lot to kind of heal themselves. It's mainly his wife Eilish's idea, but Paddy always goes along. When they end up in Petra, they decide to go to Petra for Christmas. To Jordan for Christmas and go to Petra, and it's the first time he feels something a bit different about a place, and it's the first time he kind of finds a bit of happiness maybe again, and he becomes friends with the Bedouins and things like that, and it's about his experience there. But also
on camels, are they?
They live in the desert.
The Bedouins.
The Bedouin, they have camels. In Petra, like, they live in caves and they've got a village. Like, I was there last year, so it's based on my own experience over there, but obviously giving it a completely different character and a different type of story. So it's something new because it's like, it's for a man in his like late 50s.
And it's contemporary, is it?
It is contemporary, yeah. It's set today. So it's like rural Ireland meets the Middle East.
Brilliant.
Oh, that's right. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it's something a bit original, but like, who knows? But it's just kind of a happy / sad story, and it's about an adventure, and it's about, can you like start a new life again? Or do you always have to be maybe responsible to the kind of life you've already been building for yourself? Or is someone entitled to like go away, set up anew somewhere different? Like, can you just close your book in that chapter and start a new chapter completely different? Or will you always have these responsibilities, and does your past always have to carry into your future?
I like the idea of a Paddy, 50-odd-year-old Paddy acclimatising to a queer place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
How are you
that's exactly
now,
it.
Paddy?
So,
Jeez,
that's it. So
what, February 25th?
29th. Yes, it's a Saturday.
February
so
29th in the Source, Thurles.
Yeah.
On sale now.
Tickets on sale now. SourceArtCentre.ie. Is that their website?
SourceArtCentre.ie. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Buy your tickets now. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys.
We'll have this episode on Spotify and YouTube. You can pick to watch or listen on whatever one you want. Thanks to the Green Sheep. This is where this episode is filmed. Every episode will be filmed in the Green Sheep. Definitely come here if you like good food and stuff.
Good coffee.
Do you like the food here? Have you ever had food here?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
what do you think
Lucy. Of it? It's amazing. I love the Green Sheep. It's a fantastic like local cafe, and Lucy, where else would you get someone that can provide good conversation? Everything is here.
Yeah, no, it's a great cafe. That's everything from nothing. See you next week.
Nice.
I said that. Well, never mind. Yeah, thanks a million.